Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, and also welcome to our third episode on how to be a bad bitch. These are probably one of my favorite conversations to have, which is why we already have 2 other videos on this up on the channel. But I thought, you know what? I think it is time for a part 3. I really love these conversations because for me, the term bad bitch just expresses this idea of being my strongest, most amazing, most confident version. And even though some people like to use the term bitch to belittle women, I think it is great to actually take that back and use it to empower. And so I want to wake up in the morning and feel like a bad bitch. And whenever I feel down about myself, I'm thinking, what would the bad bitch version of me do now? And the thing is, I really believe that we are all bad bitches. It's just a matter of bringing that side of us to the surface and really embodying that version of ourselves. And so, yeah, let's talk about that today. Also, if you are interested in the other 2 parts on this, I will leave them linked down below. And also, if you enjoy my content, please feel free to like the video, comment down below, and make sure that you are subscribed if you aren't already. Your support really helps me out a lot. And yeah, let's get right into 3 more ways in which I believe you can become the bad bitch you have always wanted to be. Step 1, it is internal and not external. So what does it really mean to be a bad bitch? I think this can really be a bit confusing. At least for me, it was confusing to figure out for a while because we kind of have all of these ideas, which are also pushed through social media, I think, that being a bad bitch is connected to all of these external things. So let's say you have to be someone who is invited everywhere and everyone likes them and they have great clothes and they have a great dating life and they don't have any insecurities or struggles and they love themselves and they love their body. And it's just this idea of someone who is thriving externally. And so we try to achieve all of those things, but I think that's just really not the case because in my eyes, you can have all of those things and still not be a bad bitch. In the end, as with most things, I think it is internal and not external. And so it comes down to feeling like a bad bitch internally and really embodying the energy of abundance and confidence and self-respect. And then the rest can follow or not follow or whatever, but that's really where it starts. And I would argue that those internal choices can at times be even harder or much harder than maintaining all of this outside stuff, which is why at times we use the outside stuff to compromise for what is actually lacking within. Also, continuously looking to control our outside environments in this way and then basing whether or not we feel good about ourselves on those, it's just not realistic, and it really also doesn't allow for any growth in life, because I think in life it's normal to go through different phases, and all of those phases are so important for growth and expansion. And so we might go through a phase where we are the life of the party and we're getting invited everywhere and everyone likes us. And then we might go through another phase where we are just by ourselves the entire time. And then we might go through a phase where we are dating lots of people or we're in the perfect relationship or whatever. And then we go through another phase where we are completely by ourselves. And then we might go through a phase where we are looking like a bad bitch every day and wearing the coolest outfits. And then we go through another phase where we are just running around in pajamas for a couple of months. And then we go through a phase where we feel so confident about ourselves and we love ourselves. And then another phase where we feel really insecure and we're really struggling. But all of these phases are normal parts of life, and they are actually so important because they all teach us something about ourselves. It's how we expand, it's how we grow. And none of that makes you more or less of a bad bitch. But what will make you less of a bad bitch is when you forget your value. You forget your worth. You start having a lack mentality. You start holding on to things or people that actually don't want to be in your life because you're scared that if you lose them, you don't have any other options. You stay in environments that are not good for you. You don't treat yourself with respect or kindness. But those are all internal choices that we can take in any moment, regardless of how these outside circumstances are playing out in our life, which we anyways don't have control over at all times. So let's say you go to a party and you really hate it there, and so you want to leave, but you're confused because you know that the only option if you do leave early now is to go home and be by yourself and just watch Netflix and put on a face mask, let's say. And so it might feel like, oh, I'm such a loser now because I'm at home by myself. Meanwhile, I would be so much cooler if I would stay in this environment. But I would argue that leaving early actually makes you the coolest person in the room, because that means you are not compromising your worth and your values. You are not in lack. You are not trying to force anything. You have respect for yourself and your own time. And whatever comes as a result of taking that choice in itself still makes you the coolest person in the room. And this is not to say that outside circumstances don't matter at all in life and they have no effect on us, because of course I would feel better about myself if I am going out and wearing an outfit that I really like rather than something that I hate. And I prefer to spend time with the people I love and my friends rather than being by myself all the time. But my point is, that's not what's going to make you a bad bitch or not a bad bitch, because you can have all of those things and still not feel good about yourself and still not treat yourself well and still talk to yourself badly and have no respect for yourself. And then that's not bad bitch energy. It's not the social life. It's not the friends. It's not the relationship. It's not the dating. It's not the outfits. It's none of that. At the end of the day, I think it is how we treat ourselves and how we feel about ourselves and the choices we take in our life and how much love and self-respect they are filled with. That's really what it comes down to. And again, then those other things can follow or they don't have to follow, but that's not where we're going to find it. Step 2, don't have lack energy. This might sound a bit harsh, but I think the energy of lack and being in lack energy is something that will immediately make you less attractive, less confident, and more needy. So to say, I'm going to stay at this party, even though I hate it here, because I'm scared that I will never be invited to something as cool again. Or I am going to spend time with this friend, even though I hate being around them because I'm scared that I won't find enough other friends, and so better keep them warm. Or I'm not going to let go of this toxic relationship, even though it's not good for me, because I'm scared that if I do let go, I will never find someone again. And it's okay. We've all been there. But in those moments, I really like to remind myself that opportunities will continue to come my way. People will continue to come my way. Things will fall into place eventually, and I deserve to feel good, so that the choices I take are because I want to take them and not because I think I don't have any other options or that's the only time I will ever have something like that again. To just really be in the energy of abundance rather than lack. For me, one thing that has really helped me to do that less and to feel lack energy less, even if my life is not showing up the way I would want it to, is to just be very clear on where I want to go and what my focus is and what kind of life I want to live. So to be really clear on the kind of people I want to be around with, the environments that I want to be in, how I want to feel, what I want to be doing, where I want to be, friendships I want to be in, whatever it is that I'm looking to create, to just be very, very clear that that's the focus and that's the aim. So let's give an example. Let's say you are talking to a guy and he's the only guy that you are talking to at the moment. So currently there are no other options, but you just don't like him. He's not it. You don't feel good around him. It's not working out. And so in that moment, you might feel lack energy because there are no other options. He's the only one talking to you. So you might start compromising or focusing on there, even though there's no need to focus on it because it's not what you want. And then if in that moment, your dream guy would be standing on the other side of the room, you would most likely never think about that person again and just walk the other direction. And it would be easy to not feel lack energy. But because that person is not actually physically there, we are in lack energy. But now, if in that moment you are really clear on where you are going in life and you're really clear on the kind of guy you want to be with, then it doesn't matter if he's there yet or not, because you know that that's where you want to go. So you don't care that it's not here in this moment because you trust in yourself and you trust in life that if you know where you want to go and you are clear on your focus, that is going to come into your life at some point. And so in that moment, even though your life, your situation might not be exactly what you want it to be yet, the clear focus on where you want to go will be able to get rid of the lack energy, even though actually physically you might feel lack in that moment. And I think that's also real confidence and real strength when we don't compromise and we know our value, regardless of whether or not that's the easier choice or not. And so if you are talking to someone who you could start dating, but you don't feel good around that person at all, you will walk away if you already have 5 other people you're talking to. But you will also walk away if walking away means you go back to yourself and you are alone and lonely and no one else is talking to you. Or you will not go to that party that you were invited to because you don't like the people there and you don't like the environment. If you have other friends who you love, who you can hang out instead, but you will also not go if not going means you are home by yourself feeling lonely and sad that you don't have more friends. Like, it doesn't matter because you don't compromise and you know your value and your worth regardless of whether or not that is the easier choice or not. And I'm not saying that that's always an easy choice. It is not. And I'm also not saying that I am able to take those choices all the time, but taking them more and more is just real bad bitch energy, because that's when you are okay with going through discomfort or loneliness or whatever it is that you are feeling in that moment, meanwhile knowing and trusting that it doesn't matter because you are on your way there. And again, not always an easy choice to make, but also at no point did we say that being a bad bitch is an easy choice. And then part 3, vulnerability is a superpower. I would say I am a pretty emotional person, not in the sense that I am emotional very often, but more in the sense that I feel I'm very connected to my emotions. And so if in any moment I do feel overwhelmed or scared or sad or disappointed or whatever it is in that situation, I will feel that. Like, it's very hard for me to block that off or distract myself from it. It's very clear to me in that moment. And for a long time, I felt like that was a weakness of mine because I didn't know how to handle my emotions. I felt people were using my vulnerability to hurt me. People were taking advantage of my honesty and of my vulnerability. And so after getting hurt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 too many times, eventually I started to think, well, I don't want to be this person anymore who gets pushed around the whole time and gets taken advantage of. And so I guess to be a bad bitch, I need to stop caring so much because clearly caring hasn't been working. So for a while, I became someone who just did not care. I was a bad bitch in all the ways that you imagine one to be. I was unfazed and unbothered at all times. You could try to hurt me, disappoint me, make me sad all you want. There was no way I was going there. Like it was not happening until eventually I started to realize, well, shit. I am not happy, but how can I feel like a bad bitch if I'm not happy? And so something is just not adding up. Something is not working. It's really easy to believe that vulnerability makes us weak because it allows us to get hurt. And so we shut that part of ourselves off, thinking that will make us strong because now nobody can hurt us anymore. Meanwhile, that's not how it works. I think vulnerability in itself is a superpower. You just want to make sure that you use it in a way that it makes you strong and not weak, but you don't want to get rid of that part of yourself because that's actually real strength. It's being vulnerable and having the courage to be vulnerable in a world that makes us think that that is weakness. Thing is, vulnerability can make you weak, for sure. It made me weak for a really long time, but it can also make you strong, much stronger than when we choose to shut that part of ourselves off, if we just figure out how to make that happen. And I think one key element of that is being very aware of who gets access to and who gets to see that part of you and who doesn't. And I think that was probably my biggest mistake, and the ways in which my vulnerability for a long time made me the opposite of a bad bitch. I think I was just a bitch to other people because I was showing that part of me to people where it was not a smart choice to do that, just because maybe they wanted to see that side of me, or they were trying to get that side of me out, or I thought it was a smart choice to do it even though it wasn't, things like that. And then I started to think that my vulnerability was the problem to me getting hurt, and then I realized my vulnerability was never the problem. It was the people that I was giving access to that side of me that was actually the problem. I like to think of it like this. Like, imagine you have this beautiful golden ball in front of you that is yours, and that is your vulnerability, your emotions, your feelings, your ability to get hurt. And we all have that. Now, that golden ball in itself is amazing. You don't want to get rid of that because that is what makes you you. It's how you experience life. It's how you connect with people, how you express yourself. That is beautiful. But what happens is when we don't know how to deal with this ball, we get overwhelmed by it, we don't see the value that it has, we start to throw it around to people and into environments thinking maybe they know how to deal with it, maybe you want it, but those people don't want it, they don't know how to handle it, and so it gets hurt and it gets damaged, and then we think this ball is the problem, maybe I should get rid of it so I don't get hurt anymore. Meanwhile, all we had to do all along was see the value that this golden ball has and to treat it with the respect and the care that it actually deserves so that it becomes our biggest strength and not our biggest weakness. Because we get rid of it and then we think, well, why does life suddenly feel so dull? Where did this beautiful magic ball go? Because I think that's really what makes life worth living in a way. And that's why I really wanted to put this into the conversation, because I think we kind of have this idea that to be a bad bitch, you have to just be unbothered and unfazed at all times, and nobody could even hurt you if they tried, and you're never sad, you're never overwhelmed, you're never confused, never anything. Meanwhile, I would argue that real strength is actually staying vulnerable in a world that makes us think that that's weakness. Meanwhile, at the same time, being very aware that that part of us is something that is beautiful and precious and should be taken care of. And so we take the responsibility to not put that side of us into environments or with people where it's not treated with respect and with the respect that it actually deserves. And that's when it becomes our biggest strength and not our biggest weakness. All right, everyone, that is all I wanted to share for today on the topic of how to be a bad bitch. I really hope that you enjoyed, and I'm very much looking forward to connecting with you in my next episode.